Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew me once again. Welcome back to another video game review. This time it is going to be on Splatoon 3. That's right. First we got Splatoon, then we got a sequel, and now we got a third game. Which is kind of weird because Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3 are on the same console. So once Splatoon 3 is out, then this, it's kind of weird. The Splatoon franchise, it's kind of like this. When the first game came out, a lot of people were playing it. At least for the people who had a Wii U. But nobody really plays Splatoon 1 anymore. They went to Splatoon 2. And now that Splatoon 3 is out, yeah. Basically, this is a gaming franchise that the more that the entries come in, there's pretty much no reason to go back and play the others, because with each game is basically a new upgrade. But, hey, a lot of people still like Splatoon. I like Splatoon. So let's see how this third game plays out. Is it any different from the last game? Let's see. Okay, well, for those unaware what Splatoon is about, you don't really need to play the other games to fully get Splatoon 3, because the concept is pretty simple. You're a creature known as an inkling, a half kid, half squid type of thing. And you play 4 against 4 in turf wars. And in turf wars, you fight against each other about who can splat the most ink in a turf. You basically have to ink your way through matches and stuff like that, and whoever has the most ink in the end wins. So kills really don't matter. What matters is inking everything that you can, because there's squids and ink. It's a very creative franchise for Nintendo, and it managed to become very big. And there is a single-player campaign, but what really matters the most is the multiplayer, because that's really why people play Splatoon. And I was sort of going to review these games before I reviewed the third game, but there really wasn't much of a point, because I will say I do think both games are great, and while you can't really play this version anymore, you can still play this version. Now, how does Splatoon 3 compare to the other ones? Well, in my opinion, it has by far the best single-player campaign. The last two single-player campaigns really, they're pretty much similar. Like, they didn't do that much compared to the single-player in this version. It took me like around 4 to 5 hours to beat. What I really like about this one is that if you remember in the Octo expansion for the last game, it's basically like that combined with regular levels, which means pretty much a lot of the levels in the single-player mode are basically optional. And what sets it apart is your new companion that you have with you. I forgot what his name is. Small Fry, I believe. And if you throw him, he'll basically attack enemies. He's basically like a living bomb, a living ink bomb. And there's all this fuzz that you have to get rid of in order for you to progress, which definitely separates it apart, because you're going to have to grind a lot in this. Well, I didn't have to grind a whole lot. Basically, you have to get these eggs in order to progress, to get rid of these fuzzy things. So, yeah, that's one thing about the campaign. And don't worry, as long as if you don't suck, then you're good throughout the campaign. And the campaign is by far the most fun I've had with a single-player campaign. While the bosses are mostly the same, except for the final boss, I thought the final boss was by far the best boss throughout the entire game, and probably throughout the entire series. You got these new characters. One character with a beard kind of reminds me of Master Roshi from Dragon Ball a little bit. And as for the campaign itself, in terms of its cutscenes, it feels a bit more cinematic. Like if it were, I wouldn't really say like an animated film. It just, I don't know, it felt a little bit more cinematic, especially with the last act. And the checkpoint system, I thought, was a bit more fair this time, because in the last two campaigns, if you screwed up a level more than 3 times, then it basically starts you back at that level. This time around, if you fail a level, you can always restart, except the ones where you have to pay in order for you to continue. No, I like pay with the in-game currency that you get throughout the game. But yeah, it has a lot more fair checkpoint system still, so I never felt like I was struggling that much. You also have a lot more new weapons. It's really hard for me to say what the names of these weapons are, because I usually just say, like, I don't know, the new bow and arrow, or the new, like, the new, like, chainsaw katana blade thing. Like, there's quite a bit of new features in here that doesn't really do a whole lot to separate it apart from the last two games, but the last two games add a bit more new weapons, and this one adds a bit more new weapons as well. And I have a feeling it's going to get a lot bigger, at least until, the next Splatoon game, because with all these games, there's probably going to be another Splatoon game, but probably for the next Nintendo system, whenever they announce that. That's probably not going to happen anytime soon, because the Switch is still popular. But how's the actual multiplayer itself? Well, they definitely do have some improvements. For instance, when you're waiting for a match to start, instead of just staring at a screen, waiting and just sitting there being a little bit bored, just kill time on your phone, you can go inside the lobby and you can train. Like, you can use whatever weapon you're holding, and you can ink stuff, and basically you can train in the lobby while you're waiting, which is something that I found very, very helpful, because then you won't really feel bored. It definitely gave me more of my time as I was waiting. So yeah, it was really satisfying to actually do stuff while you were waiting. And the game modes are mostly the same, just with new matches and stuff, and some new animations for the characters, which is pretty cool as well. And what I always loved about the Splatoon games compared to other games like Call of Duty or Halo, because I don't really play those games for the multiplayer. And those games are mostly sold for the multiplayer. Unlike those games or anything that EA usually does, you don't have to pay to win. That's what I love about this franchise, is that there's no microtransactions whatsoever. You don't unlock weapons by paying for them with real money. You can always get them with in-game currency. And that's all that you need to do, is buy the game, and then boom, you're sold. While people will say that $60 is still a little too pricey, which I do agree. With the first game, $60 was way too much. It was a great game, but $60 at the time, it was way too much. It's probably not worth much now, because the Wii U doesn't support online that much anymore, and the eShop is going, so it might have already gone. I can't remember. Yeah, the more you progress, I feel like the more better you'll get, because the game also allows a little bit of RPG elements for the clothing you get, which is something I almost forgot to mention. Basically, you're trying to look as fresh as you possibly can. That's the key word here. Fresh. You have to look swag and fresh in here. You have to get the coolest clothes with those abilities that'll help you. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about the campaign's abilities. Unlike the last two games with the campaign in here, you can get skill points, kind of like in the modern Assassin's Creed games or stuff like that. You can boost your abilities that way, and you don't have to unlock all of them in order for you to progress the campaign. It's something that I thought was very useful and definitely separated apart. And like I was mentioning before, the abilities you get for the clothing I thought were very useful. And you get more the more you level up. You'll be able to unlock more better gear for your character, and better, also you can use your gamer tag. You can customize your gamer tag, which doesn't really have that much of a purpose other than, to look cool. And you can get stickers, and you can get a locker and stuff. There's more customizable stuff to do in this game than the last game. And yeah, while the game definitely isn't perfect, I have ran into a few communication errors, and I'm not sure if it had to do with my internet, because my internet is very strong. If it wasn't that strong, I wouldn't be, making all these videos in 5 videos a month or anything like that. But I don't know, sometimes I run into a lot of errors, and it definitely bugged me quite a bit. Sometimes I feel like I have to go downstairs in order for me to play, because that's where my internet connection is. Also, I almost forgot about Salmon Run. A big thing they improved in Salmon Run, which is basically you're working for someone, and it's 4 players against AI, creatures and stuff, and you have to get eggs, and you get stuff the more you progress. And this time there are bosses in here that you can fight, but it takes a while for you to get to there. Unlike in the second game, where it was 12 hours, this time it's 24 hours, which I didn't know it was 12 hours at the time until I saw reviews of the game. So yeah, you can play Salmon Run whenever you please, and it also has the same lobby system where you can train. You can throw eggs and practice throwing eggs, getting the eggs, and stuff like that. Salmon Run is one of the best modes that they put in the game, and probably my favorite mode. And of course, the Anarchy Battle is back. You can, rank up your character to get the highest grade as possible. But of course, that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort because I really suck at that mode. I don't know why I do. I don't know why I'm always put on the sucky team, but I don't know. And while it definitely doesn't do a whole lot in terms of separating it apart from the last two games, that's one thing about these games. Most people will complain that they're mostly the same thing. That they don't do a whole lot. They just add in more new weapons and maps when they could have done that to the last game. But for me, I feel like there is some stuff that does separate apart from the last two games. And while they definitely need to do a whole lot if they're going to do another game to separate apart from this one, I still feel like there's a lot to love about this new game. Like, it's still just as well paced. There's more customization in this game. There's a better campaign, like I mentioned before. And most games, I come here for campaigns, but no. Multiplayer is definitely where you're going to get your time spent in all these games. And it's by far probably the best in the series, in my opinion, so far. I'm not sure how they can make the next game any better than this one. And while I say it's the best game in the series, that's not really saying much because it really doesn't separate a whole lot from the previous two entries, but at least the second entry, it does separate a lot from the first entry because at the time, the first entry only had like 5 maps until a lot later they added in new maps. So hopefully they'll do more. They'll probably add another expansion just like they did with the Octo expansion in the last game. But yeah, in the end, guys, Splatoon 3, I still definitely recommend. If you're a fan of this series, if you love seeing new characters, if you love seeing more stuff added to your franchise, then I feel like this is definitely worth it. But if you're still not too sure, then maybe wait for a price drop. Maybe wait till Black Friday next month. But I don't know. I still think it's worth a play if you've played the previous games and you just love this franchise so much because it does have its fans. I'm a fan, and I really enjoyed this one. And I'll continue to play it, even when God of War Ragnarok comes out. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope Bayonetta 3 is good. I'm really looking forward to that game. I've been reviewing a lot of Switch games this year, haven't I? I don't know why, but God of War Ragnarok is definitely my most anticipated non-Nintendo game. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Word out.